German Empire. The German Empire was founded in 1871 after the unification of the German states, led mainly by the Kingdom of Prussia. Within just a few decades, Germany became one of the most powerful nations in Europe. With rapid industrial growth, a strong military, and global ambitions, it wanted to rival Britain and France on the world stage. The ruling dynasty was the House of Hohenzollern, the royal family of Prussia that now ruled the German Empire. The last emperor was Kaiser Wilhelm II, who came to power in 1888. Wilhelm was ambitious and self-confident, but also impulsive. He dismissed the experienced Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, who had carefully balanced European politics, and instead pushed Germany toward a more aggressive foreign policy and naval expansion. The downfall of the monarchy was closely tied to World War I. At first, German armies scored victories, including the defeat of Russia on the Eastern Front, which forced the Russians out of the war in 1917. But on the Western Front, the conflict dragged on for 4 long years. Germany faced food shortages, military exhaustion, and the crushing effects of the Allied naval blockade. By November 1918, strikes and uprisings spread across the country. Sailors in Kiel mutinied, and soon entire cities were in open revolt. On November 9, 1918, Kaiser Wilhelm II was forced to abdicate and fled into exile in the Netherlands. Just 2 days later, Germany signed the armistice that ended World War I. The monarchy collapsed, and the Weimar Republic was proclaimed. Instead of stability, Germany entered a turbulent era that would eventually pave the way for the rise of Nazism. Fun fact, Kaiser Wilhelm II lived in exile until 1941 and was buried in the Netherlands. In his will, he requested not to be returned to Germany unless the monarchy was restored. Russian Empire. The Russian Empire was one of the largest states in world history. At its peak, it stretched across Europe, Asia, and even North America, controlling Alaska until it was sold to the United States in 1867. For more than 3 centuries, it was ruled by the House of Romanov, a dynasty that embodied the idea of absolute monarchy in Russia. The last ruler was Tsar Nicholas II, who came to the throne in 1894. Nicholas was deeply religious, saw himself as a protector of Christianity, and was devoted to his wife Alexandra and their children. While admired for his sincerity and family values, he lacked political skill and struggled with the challenges of a modern empire. When World War I began in 1914, Russia entered the conflict to defend its ally Serbia against Austria-Hungary and Germany. The war was disastrous. Russian armies suffered catastrophic defeats, and shortages of food and supplies created desperation at home. In 1915, Nicholas personally took command of the army, which only tied his name more closely to military failures. By early 1917, anger exploded into the February Revolution. Nicholas II was forced to abdicate, ending over 300 years of Romanov rule. He and his family were placed under house arrest. Later, the October Revolution brought the Bolsheviks to power, sparking a civil war with the White Army, a loose coalition of anti-Bolshevik forces including former imperial officers, nobles, and other groups seeking to restore or replace the monarchy. The Czechoslovak legions who fought alongside the White forces advanced toward the region where the Romanovs were held. Fearing the family could be freed and used as a symbol of resistance, the Bolsheviks executed Nicholas II, Alexandra, and their 5 children in July 1918 in Yekaterinburg. With their deaths, the Romanov dynasty ended in tragedy, and Russia's monarchy disappeared forever. The Bolsheviks went on to win the Russian Civil War, leading to the creation of the Soviet Union in 1922. Austro-Hungarian Empire. The Austro-Hungarian Empire was one of Europe's great powers, ruled by the House of Habsburg, one of the oldest and most influential dynasties in the world. For centuries, it stood at the heart of Europe, governing a diverse range of peoples and cultures across its empire. The fall of the empire began with World War I. In 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was assassinated in the city of Sarajevo by a Bosnian Serb nationalist named Gavrilo Princip. In response, Austria-Hungary, with the support of Germany, declared war on Serbia. That single act triggered a chain reaction of alliances and conflicts that soon became the Great War. When Emperor Franz Joseph died in 1916, his successor Karl I inherited a nation exhausted by years of fighting. He promised to federalize the empire, giving its many peoples greater autonomy, and secretly tried to negotiate a separate peace with the Allies in 1917. But his efforts failed, and by 1918, the empire was falling apart. National movements declared independence, Hungary broke away, and Austria proclaimed itself a republic. Karl renounced political power but refused to abdicate, insisting that his crown was given to him by God. After the war, he went into exile in Switzerland, but attempted to regain his throne in Hungary twice. Following these failed restoration attempts, the British arranged his exile to the Portuguese island of Madeira. By then, his family estates and wealth had been confiscated in Austria, leaving him with almost nothing. Living in humble conditions, Karl caught pneumonia and died there in 1922 at only 34 years old. Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire stood among the mightiest empires in history. At its peak, it controlled vast territories in Europe, Asia, and Africa. The ruling dynasty was the House of Osman, one of the longest ruling families in history. From their capital in Constantinople, the sultans combined political, military, and religious authority, governing millions of people of different cultures and faiths. By the 19th century, the empire had entered a long decline. National uprisings, territorial losses, and economic troubles earned it the nickname Sick Man of Europe. In 1914, the Ottomans joined World War I on the side of Germany and Austria-Hungary. They fought harsh campaigns against Russia in the Caucasus and Britain in the Middle East, while also facing the Arab Revolt, which aimed to end Ottoman rule in Arab lands. Defeat came in 1918. Allied forces occupied Constantinople, and the empire's remaining territories were divided among them, with the British, French, Italians, and Greeks taking control of different regions. The last sultan, Mehmed VI, tried to preserve his throne, but growing nationalist movements led by the charismatic general Mustafa Kemal rejected foreign occupation and the old imperial system. From the city of Ankara, Mustafa Kemal organized a resistance that defeated the occupying forces and ended the remnants of the Ottoman government in Constantinople. In 1922, the Ottoman Sultanate was officially abolished, ending more than 600 years of rule by the House of Osman. The following year, Mustafa Kemal proclaimed the Republic of Turkey, marking the birth of a new modern state. Meanwhile, the last sultan, Mehmed VI, fled into exile in Italy, where he lived until his death in 1926. Kingdom of Italy. The Kingdom of Italy became a unified state in 1861, when the many independent Italian states were brought together under the leadership of the Kingdom of Sardinia. In a few decades, Italy transformed from a fragmented peninsula into a modern European nation, eager to industrialize, expand overseas, and establish itself alongside Britain, France, and Germany. The throne was held by the House of Savoy, the royal family that had once ruled Sardinia and now governed a united Italy. The dynasty symbolized national pride and Italian unity, even as sharp divides between the industrial north and rural south persisted. Italy entered World War I in 1915 on the side of the Allies, hoping to gain territory and prestige. Although victorious, it did not receive all the lands it had claimed. The war left Italy economically exhausted and politically unstable, creating the conditions for Mussolini's fascist regime. After the March on Rome in 1922, King Victor Emmanuel III appointed Mussolini as prime minister to restore order and avoid civil conflict. Once in power, Mussolini consolidated control and became a dictator, reducing the monarchy to a largely ceremonial role. During World War II, Italy suffered heavy defeats while allied with Nazi Germany. In 1943, after the Allied invasion of Sicily, King Victor Emmanuel III had Mussolini deposed and then aligned with the Allies, governing from the liberated South. Meanwhile, the Germans rescued Mussolini and installed him as the head of a puppet fascist regime in the north. The country was effectively split. The South under royal and Allied authority, and the North under German occupation, where partisan groups fought against fascist forces. After the war, Victor Emmanuel abdicated in favor of his son, Umberto II, known as the May King for his brief reign. In the 1946 referendum, Italians narrowly voted to abolish the monarchy, with about 54% supporting a republic and 46% favoring the monarchy. Republicans won mainly in the industrial north, while monarchists held stronger support in the rural south. Advisors urged Umberto to establish a rival government in Naples and rally the army behind him, risking civil war. But he refused and said, "My house united Italy. I will not divide it." He went into exile in Portugal, ending the House of Savoy's rule and marking the birth of the modern Italian Republic. France. For centuries, France was ruled by the House of Bourbon, one of Europe's most powerful dynasties. The Kingdom of France shaped European politics, culture, and the arts for generations, until the French Revolution of 1789 swept away the monarchy. King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette were executed, and in the chaos that followed, a young general named Napoleon Bonaparte rose to power. In 1804, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of the French, creating the First French Empire. His armies dominated much of Europe, spreading revolutionary ideals but also provoking resistance. After years of war, the empire began to crumble. Defeated in 1814, Napoleon was exiled to Elba, but the following year he escaped, returned to France, and briefly regained power before being finally defeated at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. After his defeat, he was sent into permanent exile on the remote island of St. Helena, where he lived until his death in 1821. The Bourbon monarchy was restored after Napoleon's fall, but unrest persisted. In 1830, another revolution replaced the Bourbons with the more liberal House of Orleans. King Louis Philippe ruled as a constitutional monarch, calling himself the Citizen King, yet his regime increasingly favored the wealthy. By 1848, rising discontent led to another revolution, ending the monarchy and establishing the Second Republic. Its first president, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, nephew of Napoleon I, promised stability and national pride. In 1852, he declared himself Emperor Napoleon III, founding the Second French Empire. Napoleon III oversaw the modernization of France and the rebuilding of Paris. Yet his foreign ambitions led to disastrous consequences. In 1870, France went to war against Prussia and other German states. The French army suffered crushing defeats, and Napoleon III was captured at the Battle of Sedan. When news of his capture reached Paris, he was swiftly dethroned, and revolution erupted once again. The Third Republic was proclaimed, ending the Second Empire. In the aftermath, German troops occupied parts of France. And in January 1871, the German Empire was proclaimed at the Palace of Versailles, a deep humiliation for the nation. France was forced to cede Alsace and Lorraine, economically important regions, to the newly established German Empire, leaving a lasting scar on French pride. Napoleon III went into exile in England, where he lived until his death in 1873. His fall ended centuries of monarchies and empires in France, firmly establishing the Republic as the nation's enduring form of government.